My name is Jennifer Cronin. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Born in Oak Lawn, it's a southwest suburb of Chicago. This piece is Lucky to Have Each Other. It's an oil painting on canvas, and it's part of a series of work that was about sort of just the everyday tasks that can mount up and sort of get in the way of your life, but also kind of make up your life at the same time. My boyfriend and I had just moved into a new apartment at that time, and that's me and my boyfriend there. Kind of a playful exaggeration of just unclogging our drain, which was a task we unfortunately had to do quite frequently. So this is just kind of a thought of sort of what all that stuff can be attached to, what's underneath the drain, and it's almost sort of like a monster, this insect-like hairy monster that's just creeping up right underneath the drain there.
What kind of reactions have you seen from people coming through?
I think it's a mixture of laughter and disgust. Some people sort of laugh to themselves. A lot of guys, you know, husbands and wives are like, oh, they got sick of cleaning their wife's hair out of the drain. And it's a lighthearted painting, but it's also kind of creepy at the same time, which is something I enjoy, playing with a mixture of beauty and something that might be a little bit revolting at the same time. I did a lot of self-portraits for a while, and I guess it's not necessarily like part of a series per se, but a group of work that was all kind of about similar ideas, like the psychology of the domestic space and everyday life within, you know, just the domestic environment and the psychology of that space. Last year was Shelter. That was done somewhat similar time to when I did this piece. Shelter was similar to this. It was a self-portrait, and it was larger two pieces that went together. And it was a scene of my back porch at my old apartment in Chicago, and I was sort of along the bottom creeping up on the sort of door that led out to the porch and checking out sort of what was going on inside. Meanwhile, behind me, when I was creeping up on the house, there was this weird blue-green, sci-fi looking painterly aura behind me. So that was kind of a strange painting for me, because once in a while I change my mind about what I'm going to do in a painting when I'm already halfway into making it. And that whole blue section wasn't going to be blue. But I was kind of working with the idea of sort of the outside environment coming in and sort of intruding and being this sort of questionable, mysterious, but threatening thing. I was starting to think a little bit about the ideas of like global warming and hazardous environments and things like that. And so something right on your back porch that's sort of unhealthy or strange, or we don't know what's going on with it. And then that was interfering with my own little psychological drama that I initially envisioned as what was going to be what the entire piece was about. So I added this extra element to it. And that was a really fun series to do. Really represented a departure in my work. For several years, probably 5-6 years, I did these kind of moody self-portraits in domestic spaces, and recently I've done this sort of shift into documenting things in my work and relying a little bit more on reality and a little less on imagination, fantasy type things working their way into my work. So that series was sort of this intersection between this documentary work and what I was doing in the past, and that was a series of, it's called Customer Service, and it was a series of portraits of my coworkers at the customer service job that I have. And I had them all over at my apartment and took photos of them, and then I also had them fill out these surveys where they answered questions like, what do you think about while you're at work? What are some things you care about? Where are some places that you go that you enjoy, or things you fantasize about? And that I worked into the top portion. I did a series of paintings called The Peculiar Manifestation of Paint in My Everyday Life. And basically that was a series of self-portraits where I was in my parents' house, so it sort of had this suburban, very domestic vibe to it. And there were these painterly, gloppy, goopy, hazy sort of paint monsters that were creeping up on me in various spaces. So that one was me laying down, asleep in bed, side view, and then there was this just big, dark aura above me that was just basically brush strokes, just me taking the brush and going like that and having some fun on the canvas. So it was about, you know, the psychology of these spaces, but also a little bit about abnormal psychology, which has always been a big interest of mine, but also about paint and breaking the illusion of the canvas, of the realistic painting and stuff like that.